What's up, everyone? It's David here from Team Ultra Instinct, bringing you a Set 10 only Trunks deck profile. It is mono blue. Obviously, there is the Overwhelm cards I included in here, but I'm going to go through each piece of the cards in here, and I'll explain why I have some of the numbers of the cards in there. But yeah, I'll get there right when we go through each card. I'm actually only running 2 Mai in my deck. It may seem a little bit weird. Some people may be asking why not 3, why not 4. Um, Honestly, it's nice and all, but it, I just don't use it as much as I'd like to. Sure, I get it, but I prefer to actually end up playing the Vegeta Savior of the Future, or going into the Negate, or playing out SSB Son Goku, the Boundless. Now you may be questioning why I have one of those. Well, simple answer, I only own one of them. Yes, I could buy more online, but I'm being cheap right now, so I only run the one, but preferably I would like to run 3. I'm still debating on what I'd take out, but I think I'd end up dropping a Demigruff for it, and maybe one of the SS2 Trunks for a brighter future, the 4-drop Trunks that can become a triple strike. I figured 3 of him in the deck's probably good enough. I run 4 of the Vegeta 1-drops, figured why not have Self-Awakening and apply pressure. And with our leader being able to awaken at 4 life, it's pretty solid. Helps us out because, well, yeah, our leader actually awakens when they're at 4 life too. I never get to fully utilize that against a lot of decks because Ginyu is mostly what I've been facing, so it applies a little bit too much pressure on us. But when we get there and we can awaken at 5, say 6 life, it feels really nice being able to be at 15k rather than the 10k. But Vegeta, simple, self-awakener, double strike. I have used him very early game in combination with this SSB Goku, and what I usually end up doing is fusing into this Vegito down here, but I'll explain to that a little bit more once I get there. I run 3 of the Bulma. I actually really like her coming out of the life. It's just a nice way to search your top 5 for free because you mostly reveal it from your life and then play it. I have played it for 2 energy before just because I had nothing else to do, but hitting her out of life and revealing it to player, it feels really nice. Being able to hit a blue Goku, blue Vegeta, blue Trunks, any of those. And obviously it's situational, so say like I need a negate right now. Top 5, I can hit this Vegeta who's a negate. So it's really useful. Super combo, we're just going with the standard draw 1 super combo for being at 4 or less life. I like it. Also, the theme of sticking with the Future Saga. I'd prefer that over Zeno, honestly. Zeno's not bad. I'm just not one to run Zeno in a set 10 only deck if it's not Zamasu. Also, having this Goku helps out. Kind of gets a Zeno effect, but not quite. Being able to play him for 1 and then replace your energy if you didn't want that one actually charged is nice. But every time I actually play this Goku, I end up hitting this Trunks here, and I don't know why. That's the top card of my deck every time. Just my luck. We run 4 of each of the Super Saiyan Blue characters out of the core set or main set, and basically it's just targets we want to hit out of our life. It's nice to draw 1. You see other cards that aren't just that, and it ramps you for 1 turn. But generally what you're going to use it for is actually fusion. So you want to go into the Union Patara, and set up for your big Vegito the next turn. And then if you need to burn the energy and use it on something and then fuse, it's pretty solid to do with the leader. But I'll explain a little bit more on why the leader is really nice with them. And then this Vegeta, simple, just a 1-drop negate, 15k for us in this deck. I really like it in tandem with the leader and the unison in the deck. It's done a lot of justice. It's a great fusion or Patara target as well. I highly recommend this at a 4 of in the deck. I don't even run Final Hope Slash. I'd probably run it as a sideboard if I wanted to play a more defensive style, but this is more mid-rangey. And I haven't had any huge issues yet. I mean, Sin Shenron isn't exactly the best deck to face, but we have answers to it at least. It's just rough when they can get the 9-drop out on turn 2. SS2 Trunks for a brighter future. This is one that I think could go down to 3. It's nice at 4 for consistency purposes, but it's a great finisher in the deck. I really like the card, and people really like answering it right away. So it takes some focus off of your leader. Obviously, if they just KO it with the battle card, is what it is. But he gets reduced to a 2 cost if you have a blue unison in play, and generally we're going to have the Supreme Kai of Timeout. But getting that 10k power and triple strike on him is amazing. I've taken many games with him. People, for some reason, don't always expect it. I think they always expect the Vegito finish, but once you play him and he sits on the board, you keep getting value out of him because it's an activate battle. You don't have to activate it before the attack, so they either negate it then or potentially take the triple strike after that, or combo out of it. So he applies great pressure. Huge fan of him in the deck. Actually, really like this card in a lot of blue decks. So if you're thinking of a good card to splash into blue decks, I think he's pretty solid because sure you don't get the draw one, but you can still get that triple strike on him. He can still be a 2-drop. So keep your eye out for him. I think he's great. This is arguably one of the best counterplay cards out of the set. Uh, Basically, if you have a 2 or higher, well, if you have a unison on board with 2 or more markers, you can play him for free. And what his counterplay skill is you can either discard him and bounce their card back to hand, or just play him. Generally, you're going to discard them and put the card they're going to play back to their hand. You can't play another counter skill card or counterplay skill card for the rest of the turn, but you're really only going to get it off one time. I mean, if they're getting it off a second time where it's a threat that you need to counterplay, it's probably too late in the game for this. I mean, sure, you burn their energy, but still great card. I've had many uses out of it. They try to drop a 4-drop on me. I tell them no. It's done wonders. I run them at 4 for very simple reasons. Just a great card. Now this SSB Vegito, also a TP card. I only own one, but is a card I would be running at 3 as well in here. And I would probably drop this guy down to 2 and have him at 3. So still a total of 5 of the Union Pataras. But reason being is I like his auto more than I like his keywords. But his keywords, depending on the matchup you're in, are a lot better. If you're facing Frieza or any deck that runs the counterplay Frieza, this one's going to be better. Or any of the counterplay cards, really. I mean, Yamcha still gets around him. Not much you can do about that. No, actually, Yamcha doesn't. I lied. Deflect. Yeah, so he's just great against all the counterplay cards in this set. But he's just great for answering boards. So say you're facing Ginyu, I would run this SSB Vegito all the time. Unless they have, say, Demigra or something on the board, it's situationally he becomes a little bit better. But I really like being able to remove 2 cards from their battle area, so that's why I'd prefer to run him at 3 rather than him at 4. And then I'd be running this guy at 2, which he has Deflect, Barrier, and they both have this same exact permanent. You can choose cards in your energy. Except this one isn't actually energy locked now that I'm looking at it. This one only works when you have 4 more energy. This one works at any time. Granted, probably don't want to set yourself back that early in the game, but it still works. But generally what I do is I play these 2 1-drops out and fuse them right away. Great pressure, works out fantastic, still a 20k beater, even if you can't go right into this guy. And then with him, 25k, deflect, barrier. It's a great beater, like I said. Isn't restricted to being 4 energy if they're already on the board, just if you're using targets from your energy. So still great. Big fan of that ability. Obviously, if you're 1 down on the board, it helps being able to use 1 from your energy, and it combos with these guys fantastically. I really love this whole Vegito engine. It just sucks that you can't utilize it to its fullest in other decks because of this guy who requires your leader to be a blue Future Trunks card for his auto. But he is a Deflect, Triple Strike, Barrier, EX Evolve for 4 blue energy. No colorless, just straight 4 blue energy. And it has to be onto a specified cost of 5 Vegito. So, well, not specified cost, I guess they have to be 5 energy. So if there's somehow in the future some Vegito that reduces himself to 5 energy or bumps himself to 5 energy, be another target for it. But it's nice that it's just a Vegito, so it could be a red one too. So, pretty interesting. But his auto requires the blue Trunks leader, and what it does is when you play him or he attacks, your opponent chooses 2 cards in their hand and places them at the bottom of their deck in any order. It's not quite as strong as the old Gogeta 7 that we have that is now banned, but he's still really strong. 35k, triple strike, barrier, that's always fantastic. But being able to rip 2 out of their hand on the play and then swing and rip 2 more, it's great. Sure, you may add 3 to their hand, but generally you want to play them when they're at 3 life. I mean, if you play them when they're at 4 life and say they had 2 cards in hand or 4 cards in hand, it still feels nice because you technically neg them 1 card in their hand if you deal the 3 damage and then go to 1 life. but he's a great finisher. Love the card. I run him at 4 simply because I want to see him enough. And it's set 10 only, so we can afford to have him at 4. Then we run for the Supreme Kai of Time in this deck. You may be wondering, why not Zeno? Simple. It's just my preference. I prefer to see the Supreme Kai of Time and manipulate my life and see what's in my life, or restand an energy. Being able to set up for the Super Saiyan Blue plays out of life and the Bulma out of life is fantastic. Done it many times. It just helps out so much. And then being able to restand 1 energy at the end of turn is nice if I tapped out. But knowing my life actually saved me many games. I mean, I knew all 5 of my life at one point just because I wasn't letting them damage me. So I knew which life I needed to take. And since it doesn't specify to shuffle your life and you're just putting a card back in your life, you basically almost always know most of your life if you're at 4 life. So I just prefer this one. It can be removed fairly easy. It just takes a bit of a tax, but it sets up for this negate, which is nice. So haven't had any troubles with her being my unison. Really enjoy her. She's a 15k over the 9k Zeno, so that's a little bit different. But Zeno does help set up for this a little bit quicker, the Vegito play. But I like to play the more mid-rangey get there rather than rush into the Vegito. So I've had more luck with that. It's just my preference. You may be wondering why 3 Demigra. I just like being able to take a card out of their hand. It's a good unison. I could be using the Mass Saiyan out of the Overrealm cards, but with the leader, I just feel like I get enough removal, and then with the Vegito also being in the deck, obviously if he was a 3 of, it'd be a lot better. But I just feel like I have enough removal rather than playing the 25k warp up to an energy cost of 6 on their board. I just like the pressure. I can strip a card from their hand and make him basically a 25k or just get rid of an extra card in their hand. Sure, sometimes it's a dead card, sometimes it's a unison card, or it's a combo card. Say they had 1 card in hand and it was, I don't know, a super combo. Hey, that helps us out. It's another 10k just onto him. And even if they negate the attack, his auto's still going to go off, so we still strip a card from their hand. I just like the pressure he applies. He's done me lots of work. It just works great with this Vegito. Just being able to strip another card out of their hand, so potentially 5 cards out of their hand in 1 turn, just feels really nice. And then last but not least, we'll talk about the leader and why all of this deck. I probably should have started with that, but save the best for last, right? The leader makes the deck work. He's the one that gets the plays off for the Bulma and the SSBs. Lets me play them from life because I can reveal the card from my life to play them or put them in my energy, depending on the card, obviously. But standard auto of when this card attacks, draw a card, and then when your life is at 4 or less, or your opponent's life is at 4 or less, you may draw 1 card and then switch up to 1 of your energy to active mode and flip them over. And then the Awakened side has that exact same permanent of revealing a card from your life to potentially do those effects or avoid crit damage. Which avoiding crit damage is my favorite part about this leader. I just like not having to take crit, since crit is one of the best keywords in the game. Obviously, double strike and triple strike are fantastic, but avoiding crit always feels great because we want to keep our hand at a decent hand size. Obviously, there's going to be hand hate like Frieza and stuff floating around, is what it is, but usually we're not getting hit too badly by it. So the Awakened side actually has a pay 2 mono blue energy, and what that does is it is once per turn an activate main, meaning it's only during your main phase or your activate main, choosing one of your opponent's battle cards and you place it at the bottom of their deck, and then at the end of your turn you switch up to one of your energy, mono blue energy, to active mode. So you try to keep this guy typically as a mono blue deck, but obviously you can mess around with multicolor. You just need to have at least one mono blue card in your energy to be able to fully utilize that effect. But he is really effective, obviously, for removal sake, but he isn't great against barrier because barrier, it has to say ignoring barrier to even get around it. But regardless of that, I like being able to essentially remove something for 1 energy, and this leader does it fantastically. Obviously, keeps us open for a negate the next turn if we need it. Outside of set 10, that's pretty nice. I mean, keeps us live for dimension magic for 1 energy rather than using the sparking effect. But sometimes you need to do what you need to do. Keeps us open for Senzu Bean if we wanted to have it outside of set 10. But it's just fantastic being able to set up for this Vegeta. And I actually almost want to just keep that in a like a non-set 10 only deck because I like being able to play that 15k one drop negate. It's just a one energy 15k that I have set up for next turn, and if I wanted to run the Vegito engine in there as well, I mean, he sets up for it fantastically. I'm a huge fan of that, and I really like being able to play this guy for one energy. And obviously, you only get that benefit with a blue Future Trunks leader. But love the leader, love the deck. Obviously, I told you I'd make changes to it. Uh, I will in the future once I get the cards for it. I'll probably keep messing around with this deck the more cards that come out for with it. And I do want to run a version of it that's not set 10 only. Probably using the set 3 UI sign plus any anniversary box, Super Saiyan Blue Goku to bounce the 4-drop Champ Pack Trunks that came out back to my hand, and a couple other things. But it just seems like a lot of fun. But as for the sideboard for the deck, I haven't fully decided if I wanted to play more defensively. Final Hope Slash in the sideboard. If I needed to swap out the Vegetos once I get those changes in, I'll have some of those sided. Um, Absolute Confidence for Unisons or 3 cost or lower battle cards if I'm facing that. I have a lot of options. I'm just not entirely sure. I mean, Mass Sand in the sideboard if I wanted to swap out my Overrealm cards, but I don't think I'd be sideboarding any Unison. I'm not 100% on the sideboard, but I have a good concept of what I want to do. But that's actually it for the whole entire deck profile. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope whoever requested this enjoyed it and watched the video. I really enjoy this deck, and I hope other people decide to try it out with tweaks, obviously. If you want to rip the whole entire deck and the changes that I planned on making, feel free. I'm not going to take offense to it. That's actually like a compliment to me. But for set 10 only, I think it's good against a lot of matchups, and it stands a chance. So if you guys play it and have success with it, I'd love to hear about it. I really enjoy this deck, like I've said, and I just hope you guys enjoy it if you ever play it too. So, hope you guys did enjoy the video, and I'll see you in the next video. And if you ever have any recommendations, just feel free to shoot them in the comments, and we'll see what we can do for you guys. Catch you in the next one.